Okay, guys, we are live. So for those listening at home, welcome to the Dungeon Musings YouTube channel. My name is Kevin Madison, and I'll be your friendly shop steward today, because today we are carrying on with our ongoing campaign playing Paizo Publishing's outstanding fantasy RPG Pathfinder 2nd Edition, and we are using the game to play in a custom setting called the Spires of Paridar. Spires of Paridar is a Coalpunk setting of occult conspiracy, class disparity, and industrial progress. And I guess most importantly, mystery. With me today are the stars of the Spires of Paridar campaign, the Illuminators themselves. I'll go the order I've got you guys on the screen here. Why don't you tell us who you are and who you're playing today? First up is James.
I'm James, and I'm playing Sally Dumaire, Azar Katie, a monk detective.
Nice. There we go. I'm getting a little bit of a delay. What is going on here? There we go. With the tokens, that's weird. Next up is Ingolf.
Yeah, hi, I'm Ingolf. I'm playing Basil Rathbone, who is an Isoki detective investigator is the class. And yeah, we're trying to investigate stuff.
Nice. And last, but certainly not least, is Darren.
Yeah, Darren here. I'm playing Dr. Adam Ursprung, who's a created flesh warp inventor, and his trusty sidekick, Igor Mark IV.
Very nice. Now, guys, I see from the label of today's session that we are in part 2 of a mystery called A Quiet Village by the Sea. So what happened in part 1?
What happened? James wasn't here last week, were you? Last time?
No.
Sally was still in her bathtub.
Yeah.
It's deliciously salty.
That was a long soak. So what happened last time? Yeah, we talked about the Dag on the Sea as a possible place to visit. They've reported exceptional fishing season this year, which seemed to have some suspicion to it. What else? They're believed to have some catacombs below the Dag on the Sea and an old keep. That was a little bit of information we gathered on the place. Basil and Adam went and spoke to Morris Watson Fole with the button that we got off of the uniform from one of the crew of the Blackwall ship, hoping that he'd be able to talk to someone to investigate the button and do some magic to try and get any information from it, and he agreed to do that with another member of the university staff. He also, without Sally's approval, we did agree that he could mention to Archibald Morgan that Sally may be in danger because of these the thing she saw in a sleepwalking previously. So I think we may see Archibald at some point, or not, depending on how stealthy he is. And then Golag went to the opera and met up with, well, firstly a kobold, but then later on it seemed to mysteriously transform into a different person. But he spoke to them. I think he got a bit of information that that Dr. Green might be able to help with regards to our insurance company that we're trying to look into this Blackwall ship. So I think that was the main thing we sort of gathered from his meeting with the kobold creature.
Well, the kobold, I believe, also had something in his lapel.
Oh, he had the white flower.
White blossoms of Parador.
Yeah, the white blossoms of Parador.
Yeah, and the other thing was a kobold from the likely connected to the Ministry of Internal Affairs or something like that.
Yeah,
security.
So it was not a random kobold who just ran.
Oh no, sorry, yeah, because that's why he'd gone to the theatre to meet someone. and yeah, that wasn't a chance encounter. And then also the Church of the Heavenly Host have shown concerns of the priest, the parish priest of the Dagon the Sea. And they sent an investigator to go and have a look into that, and they haven't been seen since, so they've disappeared. Whoever was investigating that, I don't think we've got any more on that yet. We were told that Shoregate Arms may be the right place to stay in Dagger the Sea. I think that was all from the Kobold, I think, all that information. Then, just before the end of the session, we went back to our office to discuss things, and we were having a general chat and discussion, and I can't remember, but I think Basil was looking at the white flowers outside the window of our office, and they seemed to be all pointing towards the window as if they were actually directed towards the office window in a strange manner. And that's when Golag attempted to sort of detect magic of some sort, and a freak sort of result of rolls and things, he ended up getting this attack on his mind where all of this information that these flowers seem to be picking up flooded through his mind all in one go. And he sort of passed out, and we were potentially going to lose him at one point, it looked like, because he went into seizures and had some sort of fit, and it went really bad for a short period. It took him a while to recover from that. We managed to get him round, but it looks like what we learned from that is the white blossoms that grow everywhere around the city could potentially be used to sort of either record information or monitor people in some way, sort of as a spy network, or listening into people around the city. So they could have been, for how long we don't know, listening in, and maybe that's how we've had some of the encounters we've had, because people knew what was going on. So that was an eye-opener, and that's where we left it, I think, really. Mm-hmm.
I think you also learned that the church had sent someone to Dagon the Sea to address
an investigator.
Yeah, and then they had stayed, I believe, at the Bishop's College Tavern.
Okay.
And because the recommendation was to not stay at it was to stay at the Shoregate Arms, but not, to avoid Bishop's Cottage.
Yeah, so that's where
sounds like good advice to me.
Yeah, Shoregate Arms was the place to stay, they said.
Yeah.
Okay.
And while I do not have a guide to Dagon the Sea yet, I have taken this necessary step to send the file that I need to work on to the proper computer now, so I'm one step closer to having what I need. It'll be our first map in the game. So,
gentlemen, we're not going to solve this mystery in one session. This is Sally's insight.
What? I guess, Sally, do you have any questions about what happened last time?
No. Sadly predictable. The first investigator went missing. Let's not make it a habit.
Yeah.
But I do like that it's by the sea. Admirable location.
Yeah, I really like that Sally is totally unfazed with the idea that all the city is being spied on. That's totally normal, I think.
Just another day with you landlubbers. You're a crazy bunch.
One of the things that you guys witnessed as well when Golag was afflicted by those things, by his connection with the blossoms, his shadow had splintered into a countless number of little shards. And then when he did finally pull himself free, Dr. Ursprung gave him enough tranquilizer to take down a horse to no avail. it was seemingly the pull of the shadows that corrected things for him, because after the his shadow reformed into a single thing, there was almost like creaking in the room from where the shadows were pulling in to support him. So, what I think we left things with you guys the next day, meeting with Dwight Parlow of the Assurance Insurance Agency, the AIA.
Yep. That's unfortunate that we have to deal with the insurance agent now. That was
That's not the plan.
Yeah.
he had prepared and a suit and all of this stuff, and now. Excuse me, Sean.
We don't have a pocket watch between us.
Yeah, Sean is having to move somewhat unexpectedly, so he's having to get himself ready for that. So our thoughts are with Golag and Sean today. With that's never a fun process to go through. No. So then, what do you guys? I guess you're meeting at breakfast and you're finding that Golag is nowhere to be found. Even his normal place in front of that painting, there is nothing to be. He's not in front of that. What do you guys discuss over breakfast?
Has anyone, was it Basil? Did you Basil have a bit of a connection with Dr. Green?
Yeah, we have, but so right now we decided we could more or less ignore what these flowers are doing, and maybe if they are listening in to us, because we can't really find. We would have to meet in the cellar each time, and Golag was very much against that. So we just talk normally right now.
Well, Adam pointed out as well that even when he tried to grow those plants in a hermetically sealed container, when he was working on the vampiric serum, the cure, that the blossoms kept growing in them anyway.
Yeah. So that's okay, I think we should also visit the guy who was talking about this kind of submarine, because if I understood correctly, we might have to investigate something underwater, and it seems to me like, Adam, you are not the well-versed creature to do such an endeavor.
Well,
yes, no, the drawback will be the two of you will be like sardines in a can.
Yeah.
I guess I can bring things to you.
Not to be insensitive too, but it's also a bad week to get in a submarine, I think, at the time of recording.
Oh, we're not very rich.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever. So I think we have to meet this guy. So I had prepared some kind of report for Golag in the last session.
Yeah.
Of the progress we made on the case.
Yeah.
So since he is not there, I think we should collect the report and maybe use the charms of Sally to get the insurance company on board.
Mm-hmm. Sally, I think we can maybe assume that you have been, after your sleepwalking episode, that you've just been, kind of distracted for a day or so, trying to sort. How does she feel having gone through that process? I don't think you ever recall having done that before. And one thing we also realized at that session is that Sally maybe has thought of home for a very long time, but has never given thought to, well, how do I get back? Until she realized, wait, I don't have any clues how to get back to my home now.
Oh, I guess by this point she's kind of got resigned to the whole thing.
Okay.
It's been a long time. It's she realizes it would be. She's in that funny position of the long-term expat of not being welcome, not feeling at home in the original country, and not entirely at home in the new one either.
Yeah. So the fact that she doesn't know where it is isn't a matter.
No.
Okay. So then, what?
But obviously, the sinister. She is well aware of the sinister overtones and what that could mean for her new home. So that's, obviously disturbing and needs resolved.
Mm-hmm.
Although she does raise a raised eyebrow at Basil for the suggestion that she might flaunt her charms for the sake of commerce.
No. That was not the idea. But you are a people person, and Adam and I only sometimes.
I mean, Adam is made of people, so there.
Yeah, I don't deal with insurance people.
That's a squirrely answer from a mouse if ever I heard one.
So then, what is the? I guess what is your? What is the plan for the discussion with the insurance agents, or is there any? Do you want to go in and just see how things go?
I think Golak's plan was just to show that we are still working the case, that there is evidence that leads us to investigate deck on the sea. The idea was the insurance company wants us to tell that was a kind of divine intervention, because then they don't have to pay, because it was some kind of superior force and there is no insurance claim to be made in that case.
Yep.
And so I think his idea was maybe to say that since the Church of the Heavenly Host was also interested in this deck on the sea, there might be a proof that this was indeed some kind of divine or demonic intervention or something of the sort.
Mm-hmm.
So we could try that without giving details.
Yeah.
And Golag's absence is obviously him investigating further, and we're about to join him or something. Yeah.
Okay. So then, you guys are. I'm assuming the meeting with the insurance agent will be at, let's say, 10 o'clock. So you guys would have been up around 7 or so. You're having your breakfast, getting your plans made. You have some hours to kill, and around 9 o'clock, there is a knock at the door. And Sovin answers the door, and you can hear a voice that you recognize from within. And that would be... I really got to give him his designation here. Hold on. Professor Morris Watson Full. I always refer to him as Professor. And I can't find his handout when I need to find it. There we go. Okay. So I think, Basil, you're probably the one who, because you have the keenest of ears, you can hear, your ears kind of perk up when you hear Professor Morris Watson Full say that it was Golag who spoke to him. Was that right? Last session?
Nope.
Or was it you?
Adam and me.
It was you, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it was the two of you, right, because there was the Mutt and Jeff kind of walking across campus. Okay, so he says, "Oh, good day, Sovin. I hope I'm not disturbing too early, but is Mr. Rathbone or Dr. Ersprung available?"
Yeah, I think at that point we might even show up and say, "Well, hello, come in, Sylvan."
So he sees you, and he's got in his hand, he has like a little, like a folded piece of cloth that seems to contain something. And the look on his face, Basil, you would gauge as, he's a bit of a cad for most of the time. He actually looks a little concerned right now. He says, Mr. Rathbone, and maybe Dr. Ersprung, you come out from wherever. What would you be killing your time with? Would you be downstairs? Would you be,
Normally I'll be downstairs tinkering with something, so it'll probably come up when he hears him. So
then, as maybe Basil and Professor Watson-Fold make their way into the study. Sylvan goes and collects you, Dr. Ersprung, so you're brought up. And by that point, Sally, you're welcome to, if you're at all curious as to what's going on in the house, you would hear this and you'd be welcome to join as well. But Professor Watson-Fold just kind of fills the time with some, while he's waiting for Dr. Ersprung to arrive, with some idle chit-chat. And then once Dr. Ersprung arrives, he looks over to the door and says, perhaps this might be better had in private?
So, yeah.
What he means by that is that the doors are open currently.
I understand. Yeah. So I would look at Adam. What do you think? Would you close the door in Sally's face? That's basically the question.
It's up to Sally as to whether she is going to go in.
No, I'll come in.
Okay. Yeah, so he's not trying to keep her out. He just wants to keep prying ears out, that's all.
Yeah, okay, so then we close the doors. And I thought you wanted to discuss without Sally, so that was... Yeah. Okay.
So
I think at that point I would probably have a glance out the window and have a look at the flowers after last night's strange occurrence.
It's daytime, so you're getting as much daylight as you often get in the cloud-covered skies of Paridar, but not all of the blossoms are looking up in the direction of the sun. Some are in the direction of the window.
Yeah, I'll point that out to Basil just for reference, whether we act upon it.
Dr. Ersprung maybe lays his meaty hand on you and then just gestures silently out at the blossoms.
I think I just raise my eyebrows and just basically shake my head.
Yeah, okay, I'll sort of shrug.
Sally's like, is there something unusual in that?
It seems to be, but I think that it seems a little bit above our above the things we should care about right now.
Professor Watson-Fold kind of looks back and forth with you and says, I'm sorry, am I interrupting?
So no, there was just some idea that there was some strange event with Golak yesterday evening, and there was some connection. Let me just say that his shadow magic did not work as we all expected, and he has to rest for the day.
I see. Well, I wish him a speedy recovery. I will not keep you long. And he holds up the folded piece of fabric and places it down on kind of the low table near you. You had asked that I make a request of a colleague to see what could be divined from the button that you provided. I spoke to a colleague of mine, Professor Alameda King, and I prevailed on her to see past any difficulties in our relationship, and observe this, see what she could find on this at the behest of what I insisted was a bona fide and important investigation. I was not able to ascertain much from how she responded, but she seemed to think that I was playing some sort of prank on her. She yelled. She seemed to think that this was on some man underwater with a squid on his head. A person able to navigate at the depths of sunken ships, and that this was torn off of him as he was navigating there. I would say that before Professor King was displeased with me, she is well and truly into the category of cross now. So, I don't know what your investigation or how this relates to your ongoing inquiry, but I hope that that was of assistance. It certainly has cost me. And he sort of, I think, Basil, you know when someone is, is gauging the reaction. He's trying to see whether you guys were playing around with this or whether you knew anything about it. The way he's kind of studying your reactions. He's obviously not he's not a professional, investigator, so he's not going to have that kind of trained skill, but he is also a veteran of the social scene of the aristocracy of Paridar, so he knows about talking, without saying what you mean.
Yeah, I think that unfortunately confirms some suspicions we had about a certain kind of parasitic species who is able to take over.
Nope. We lost Engel. This weekend with the heat wave, we're just trading off tech issues with the European plates. Or it's the white blossom silencing Basil. Ingolf, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, but can you hear me?
We can hear you again, yes.
Yeah, that's great.
Perfect. Yeah. So, sorry, what were you saying?
Yeah, I would say that this confirms our suspicion. We have heard rumors, but they weren't sure. We had seen certain marks on dead bodies that there might be some kind of parasitic race of squids who could basically maybe possess humans in a way.
He kind of looks at to see if, again, make sure you're not having a laugh at his expense, and when he says that, he says, "Oh!" And he was so distracted he didn't take his top hat off as he came in, but he makes a point of taking it off and kind of demonstrating his head. Well, rest assured, do you truly think that this is a threat for Paridar itself?
Let us say that we hope that we found maybe the place of origin of these creatures, and we hope we can deal with them there, and that they will never find their way to Paridar again. But I'm not sure about that right now.
If there is any assistance, as always, that we can provide, you had said that you thought that I'm trying to find his name again, the doctor who went missing, his friend.
Yeah, the doctor from the boat.
Yeah.
But that is another thing. So these creatures we are talking about, they are connected to the lost ship, which so Captain Hunter's ship, I don't remember the name right now, is maybe
the Harpy, I think.
Yeah, the Harpy. Yeah, I think with the Harpy and your friend, there might be a different story.
So there
might be a connection, but we don't really know right now.
So there are two separate threats coming from the sea.
It seems like it, yeah. And it might not be even a coincidence. So it could be that the one thread only is here because the second thread is here. So like they followed each other or something. I don't know. It seems weird that this might happen around the same time almost.
I see. Well, it seems, and he turns to Sally, Ms. Dumer, you may have done much damage to our Paridar. Because by setting the expectations of things coming from the sea to be so sweet, we may have been unprepared for those that are less friendly and lovely. And he bows to you, puts his hat back on. Thank God that my worst troubles for the rest of the day are grading papers. If you need anything further, I am happy to assist with what I can. In particular, if there's anything to assist with determining whatever happened to poor Virgil. Then, I bid you good day. And he gestures at the napkin or the fabric it looks like it's a pocket square, and he says, "You can keep that as well. I believe that's done as much damage for me as I need for the day. Burn that if you need to."
Yeah, we are sorry about your damage and very, very thankful for your help as always.
The eventual apologies I will, or forgiveness that I will obtain from Dr. King or Professor King, will make these travails all the more worth it. Goodbye. And he leaves you with that button folded up in the napkin or the kerchief.
So, but this was just a coincidence or the wrong name or so? This professor, his female love interest was not the Vesta King.
No, not your king, a different king. Have I given 3 different kings, I think, so far? I think because I use the same name generator and I may be getting too close to the same thing. Hold on, I'm going to give her a different last name then. Let's see here.
Well, you know what kings are like. They have lots of children.
Yeah, apparently. Oh, let's make it Professor Harrington, like that. So where is... There we go. Nope. Someone should organize their notes, you know. I don't want to point fingers. But, all right, so you guys will have about an hour before the insurance agent will be arriving. Anything that you wish to do between now and then? I'll put Almeida's name in chat for you as well, Professor Almeida. Oopsies. Harrington. And does this insight into the button offer any further information for you for your investigation?
I think that just confirms theories we already had, really, doesn't it? With regards, I can't remember what we identified those creatures as.
Dark Tide Riders.
Dark Tide Riders.
Dark Tide Riders.
Yeah, Sally knew of them from her people.
Yeah. Dark Tide Riders, yeah. So I think that only sort of confirms what we thought was potentially the case already, that these Dark Tide Riders were controlling these people in some way.
Possibly the enemy of my own dream, if I recall correctly.
What, the sages?
Indeed.
Yeah. We can now have Starro take over the world in order to prevent Cthulhu from reappearing.
I will
think
say,
it's how can we play them off against each other?
yeah, and to give context for the history of your people too, like the Dark Tide Riders are sort of a persisting threat throughout the history of your people. The Seven Sages of Sorrow is something from like ancient prehistory, or not prehistory, but ancient history for it. So it would be something that your folk had left behind, the cruel and, maddening creatures behind that. They would have left that behind long before their current civilization. But the Dark Tide Riders are always part of that. And the Seven Sages of Sorrow, incidentally, are not something unique to your people. It is something that apparently exists in the ancient histories of other underwater civilizations. Or at least so people say. Then, if nothing else, how or what state do you want to meet the agent in, Mr. Parlow? Will you guys be set up in the study, with a presentation of some kind, or would you be, caught unawares, and act as if like, oh, forgive me, come in.
Now we are asking ourselves, what would Golak do?
I mean, besides stand bare-chested before that painting of him.
I think he'd have the meeting in a study, would he? Just, I don't know. That would be my obvious.
Let's try that.
Yeah.
Something business-like.
Okay. So you guys are all set up in the study, and right on the nose at 10 o'clock, a carriage comes riding up front of the... we don't need to be on Dag on the Sea any longer. We can go to the office.
We can have the painting in the room as well, so that it feels as if
yeah.
Golak
It's the equivalent of like a cardboard stand-up. There we go. All right. So, Mr. Parlow, if I recall, is a middle-aged man. He's got that upper crust accent to him. Well-tailored suit, but a very subdued color and cut to it. He walks like he is persistently or continually late for some kind of meeting or rushing on to the next appointment. He bursts out of the carriage, but then moves to the back, and the coachman helps him with a valise of some kind. It's a long, square leather kind of thing that probably has some from the firm, boxy shape to it. You think that there's got to be some kind of like skeleton or some kind of framework that's inside there, and it's sealed on top with two big latches. He picks up this thing, and you can tell, for one, I mean, he's got the, what I've heard assistants uncharitably call lawyer's body. So he's not a terribly fit individual, and he seems to struggle a bit with the weight of this thing. As he brings up, walks up the door where he finds Sovin waiting for him. You guys can overhear from the study. Sovin offers to take the valise from him, and he says, "No, I will require it. Thank you." And then, clean shaven, when he takes his hat off, you can see he's got a bald pate back to to a little bit of a fringe of hair around the back, meticulously groomed, mind you. And as the door opens, he walks in and is carrying this thing in one hand, and you can tell from the way he's carrying it, it likely would be more comfortable carrying it in two. But he comes in, and then he nods to you both, ignoring the fact that he's sort of like leaning over to one side as he's carrying this. Good day, gentlemen.
Good day, Mr. Parlow.
Will Mr. Golak not be joining us today?
He's unfortunately not available. He was called off. very early, but he will join the investigation as soon as tomorrow, I suppose. Again, so be assured that we speak in his whatever. What's the word?
Absence.
In his not in his absence, but in his like he wants to be spoken in a way.
In his stead?
Huh? In his stead? Yeah, that's a maybe phrase. I'm sorry.
So he... Well, if you have Mr. Golag's confidence, then you have mine as well, in so much as I have confidence in Mr. Golag. He walks in and kind of puts this thing down, and you hear kind of a... Is that a sloshing? And he sits down. Mr. Golag, he adjusts his suit. I understand you have an update for me. But we may have lost. Or have a pause for Ingolf.
I can hear you. You can't hear me?
We can hear you. You're breaking up just a scooch.
That's terrible. But maybe James or Darren can take over.
We can hear you now.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So he sits down, and what he said, Ingolf, in case you missed it, was that Mr. Golag was to provide an update on the investigation into the Black Wall.
Yes, and so we have compiled this, and I give him this folder with, I don't know, 80 pages of things we have done so far.
You can see his eyebrows go up, and he looks at it as an actuary in the way that a connoisseur or hungry man might look at a tasty steak. Paperwork. So he happily takes that from you and begins paging through it as you continue to talk.
So as you can see, we were able to get certain clues that there might be a superior being involved. And
what do you mean by the superior being?
So there seems to be some sort of creature or creatures involved who might, and we know we don't have hard evidence, as we only have traces, as can be seen in the report, that there might be some kind of creatures involved who were able to take control of the ship, some kind of deep sea or some kind of deep sea religion, cult, whatever.
Did you include anything with respect to the missing Harpy crew members in your report, or is it only about the investigations relating to the Dark Tide Riders?
No. We carefully kept any clues about the Harpy out.
Okay. So then,
and even so, so I think Basil's report will be all the facts, but there will be no real conclusion. So basically, the report is totally accurate, but absolutely useless, because it only states facts and no conclusions at all. So,
Yep. Justifying work that was done and billed for. I understand that well. So, what you as he's looking through this, he says, well, tell me more of your understanding of these creatures or superior beings that you believe involved in the disappearance of the crew.
So it might seem possible that there is some kind of a creature who is able to, I don't know, release parasites or parasitic animals that then help to control persons. And as far as we can see by the evidence and by what was found in the morgue, there seems to be marks which suggest that such a being might have been attached to one of the crew members who was found dead later. And we found also some hints and were pointed by our informants at a certain spa at the sea where those creatures might originate from.
And please do not think that this is a mere myth or a hearsay. These creatures are known to my people.
I see. So you have particular insight into this threat.
Yes, well, it's well known to my people, has been a curse on us for a long time, although I have no personal direct experience of them, fortunately.
In your experience, do they reason? Do they think?
They appear to have goals and motives.
That is deeply disappointing to hear. Because piracy is a covered peril.
Well, we might. I mean, depending on our investigation and the results of our investigation, it might not be a case of piracy if there was some kind of, let me put it, foreign deity or foreign religion involved, is it?
Might count as an act of war, almost. Of these people upon surface. I suspect you have an exemption clause on that.
I must confess, Ms. Dumer, I misjudged you. War. Yes. If this was an act of war, then perhaps the policy would not apply. Allow me to share what I had intended to share with Mr. Golag. Since we last met, there has been 2 developments in our investigation, and I wanted to see them through to the conclusion so I could bring the evidence and information to your investigators and to then see what this adds to the picture that you are placing together. And you hear him rustle with the leather straps on his valise. He opens it up. First thing he pulls out is a little wooden box. And this looks like it's something you would have to store stuff in. It's got a sliding lid to it. There's a bunch of straw inside that, or straw, I guess, inside that is serving to kind of protect something. He pulls from out of there a glass vial that is about like yay tall and about yay wide. It's something you put 100 or 200 pills in, or tablets in. He unscrews the top and spills out on the table near you guys. He pushes the button to the side if you guys haven't moved that, but he puts it on the table, and it appears to be fragments of eggs, like eggshells. Either that or almost broken pearls. But obviously pearls are, built up. They're not hollow. These look like tiny little eggs. And he says, we asked all of the companies or all the parties that were shipping on the Blackwall to take a full stock of all of their items. And this is why we were initially confused, because none had claimed to have lost anything. No one, if it was piracy, then the act of piracy achieved nothing. They took nothing from the hold, they took the ship, but then delivered it back to us. One of our providers did a thorough unboxing and reboxing of product, intending on sending it to a different destination. And when they did so, what they found inside, he gestures down at these, was these. broken shells of some kind. I happen to have an acquaintance with one of the chairs in the Department of Biology at Collingwood University, and have asked him to look into this, or more accurately, those who are specialists in marine life. I am led to believe these relate to some kind of crustacean, though they could not offer any further, or cephalopod, not crustacean. They could not offer any further insight into the nature of what these creatures might be. As an aside, I really need to be able to say the word cephalopod more often in my day-to-day life. And he's looking at you as if, like, to study your reaction, to see.
Yeah, these might be the creatures we were talking about. It would fit with the rest of the evidence so far, in that there are these being used to control other persons. But I have another question, and let me say, maybe a problem might emerge. Have you contacted the other
He holds his finger up. Allow me to present the second bit of evidence for your consideration.
Yes.
He reaches down, and then he stops. When this came to our attention, we reasonably were concerned that this was missed. It was certainly not the policy of the insurance agency to simply allow people to draw things from the ship willy-nilly in the event there was some contagion or infection or, as you've suggested, a parasite on board. In fact, the Department of Health and Customs worked together. When the Blackwall first arrived, the first to conduct their investigation were agents from the Department of Health in connection with the Customs and Services Union. They conducted a thorough search of the ship, and they were the ones that assured us that there was no pressing danger on board, no obvious affliction or contagion that would have taken the crew or claimed them. I began to wonder whether there was more to be found on that initial inspection that they themselves removed and did not make us aware, and that these, and he gestures at the broken eggshells, that these represent an oversight on the part of them. Now, and he looks one way, he looks the other way. I say this not to aggrandize myself, but I am familiar with some in the Ministry of Internal Security. And with discreet inquiries and assurances that I would return whatever they may offer us to assist in our investigation in this place that they would, in the state in which I received it, and that I would share information that we gained. I had my suspicion confirmed. And he reaches down and he pulls out a big, like, elaborate mason jar type thing full of some kind of greenish, like, embalming liquid or whatnot, and it's full of these drifting little eggs with tiny, they're almost translucent, and you can see almost tiny proto-cephalopods forming in them. One goes down on the table, and a second goes down on the table. There must be 100 at least eggs in each of these things, perhaps more. It appears that the Ministry of Internal Security either in concert with the Department of Health or under the guise of them, conducted a thorough investigation and found the ship infested with these. They recovered them as they could and conducted a examination, shall we say. What they concluded is that these are the embryonic stages of a form of cephalopod. They have also come across other less juvenile versions of this, it appears. And one of their medical experts has confirmed that these would grow into those larger parasitic versions. And he sits back, quite pleased with the display of his connections, and then says, Mr. Rathbone, you had a question.
Yes, I had, and basically you did indeed confirm my concerns that there might be more eggs maybe in the other goods as well. So like they would spread some kind of infestation.
He closes his eyes and nods in what can only be described as weaponized smugness.
Yeah. So I can only congratulate you for your thorough research and your connections.
I trust that this will be of assistance in your investigation.
Yes. So we think we have. So what we now have confirmed that is maybe a fact that is beyond the need of any further proof, that there is indeed this parasite and it was on board and it was supposed to spread maybe. But we still need to find the origin where those parasites originally came from. How did they get on board of the ship? As Miss Dumaire told us, those creatures live in the deep of the sea and not on the shore or on the land or something like that.
Indeed. Why do you think... Do you have, Ms. Dumaire, any insight as to why they would come here now?
To be honest, no. They've been a persistent curse on my people, but I've been away from home for a long time, so what might be going on is also a mystery to me. What
you would know, Sally, is that those creatures, as far as you know, share the same kind of restrictions or requirements that you do. Like, they're creatures of the sea. They can survive for a brief period on the surface, but they ultimately need to be returning to the sea at the minimum once a day. So,
right.
If, barring them wearing, and now that I've said this, or I'm going to say this out loud, I absolutely love the idea, but they're wearing a 50s style sci-fi helmet full of seawater, then maybe they could exist on land. But absent that awesome image, then no, they would be like you. They would be very limited to coastlines or elaborate and very easily thwarted mechanisms to try and survive on land and deeper inland. It's not a good, policy to be a conqueror in a place you really can't live.
No, exactly. So you're, as an invader, you're a bit limited. So their goal here does seem rather peculiar. It seems unlikely that they would want to, or even be able to, conquer the land for any period of time. I mean, they're perhaps even more restricted than myself. and I certainly wouldn't be heading too far away from a good source of salt water. So some short-term goal, perhaps, something located here.
I can tell you in confidence, and wish that you would keep it so. And he gestures to the dried eggs. These came from a client, not of ours, but of the line itself, called Northford Sundries. They have confirmed that 3 of their warehouse staff have failed to attend for work, and apparently have gone missing altogether.
That is really, really bad.
I am advised that it is only the 3, and that it was shortly after the goods were brought back to their warehouse. But from what I understand, these 3 they've simply vanished. They no friends, or we have not taken further steps in, but the principal at Northford Sundries, to whom I spoke, assured me that they have investigated this and that all 3 were solid workers, reliable employees, not unionized types, you know.
Okay. So I think we would now continue our investigation and try to locate the source of that parasite, and we'll come back to you as soon as we have additional information.
He gestures down at the dried what do you call it? The dried or the broken shell. And he says, these, I have been instructed, you may keep these. And he gingerly touches both of the containers. I have been advised, or have agreed to return to, well, you know who. However, and he reaches down to the valise once again and pulls out something similar to the size of the little glass vial that he had the broken things in, and floating in there are 3 of these. It's the same like preserving liquid, and there are 3 of these unhatched eggs in it. In the event that your medical expert wishes to vivisect or conduct any other investigations into that are beyond the scope of those that have been performed thus far, I will leave this with you. And he struggles to, put the things in. And I mean, for a guy who claims to be all business, I imagine you can't help but think, like, why bring these 2 fucking things just for the effect of, like, kunk, kunk. But he brings them over, puts them in. He scoops up the dried shell and puts it back in the container, so there are now 2 effectively identical little glass containers, one containing the dried broken shells and one containing embalming liquid or some kind of preservative fluid, and 3 of those unhatched eggs. I trust that this assists in your investigation, then?
Very much, very much. Thank you.
Good. Then, and he closes up the valise with a little bit of difficulty. If there is another appointment, contact my secretary and I will happily make the time in my schedule. And
Thank you again.
He holds up the paperwork. Thank you for this. And the new camera is really great, but it is not quite stable just yet. Every now and then it'll hiccup, and I suddenly have to reposition all the cameras once again. Yeah. Then he stands up, the prepared documents under one arm, and he tries to once again carry the valise with one arm, and he's struggling with it as he goes. Thank you, gentlemen. Good progress. And kindly submit your in-progress invoice at your earliest opportunity to my office.
We will do.
Oh, thank you. And he nods to Sovin. Thank you, sir. Places his hat on once again and makes his way out, leaving you guys with the 2 vials and seemingly some new questions. Also, you guys each get a hero point. We're way behind on that. So, what do you guys make of that?
Yeah, it seems like the Ministry of Internal Security actually does its job in some way, shape, or form.
By removing the eggs.
Yeah, by stopping a kind of invasion. Yeah. Sally, do you by any chance, just a hunch maybe, is there anything known about these Dark Tide Riders and their connection to some kind of ancient gods like the 7 Sages of Sorrow or so?
She knows that it's 2 separate issues.
Yeah.
It's kind of like,
and they came separate.
This is not a very good analogy, but like, inflation is an issue and wildfires are an issue, but they're not related whatsoever.
Yeah, but I was always under the impression that these Dark Tide Riders are much more intelligent than Sally made them sound. Like they were actually like mind flayers or so, or like really intelligent creatures who were able to build societies or something, or isn't that the case?
I mean, they're a parasite species, so what they are a threat for is that they are quite intelligent, but they're also quite obvious. Like, if you have a giant cephalopod in your head, it's easy to see what's going on. And they one of the unfortunate side effects of the Dark Tide Riders coming in is that the mechanisms and whatnot they use to control people, it also sterilizes, which means that you can't just keep breeding a population of parasites. You would need to go on to some new thing.
Okay.
But yeah, you're definitely, it's not, what Sally knows is that her people worship these things back, the 7 Sages of Sorrow are a primordial myth for their people, and they don't necessarily know a connection with it, but the Dark Tide Riders seem to have, they are able to access information contained in their hosts. So if someone knew about that, then it certainly would be, as I said, those myths are not unique to Sally's people. There are other species of the deep that have rumors similar, or legends similar to those of her people about the 7 Sages of Sorrow.
Okay. So, yeah, I think on the normal level, it just confirms even more what we already knew. And it is kind of reassuring that within the city, at least, there is someone taking care of this kind of threat. And they seem to be able to at least contain this kind of spreading. And that is something I'm really glad about. So we can really find the source and work our way there, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't think it's changed our course of action of going to Dagon the Sea, has it?
No.
So, like you say, it's more confirmation.
Yeah, but I mean, you could actually try to investigate those eggs and those beings. Like, for instance, like they were adapting, or are they adapting to more fresh water and not only salt water or so, something like that? So,
If they're going to Dagon Sea and they're involved in that, then they're next to seawater again. So
yes,
what is...
I understand, but if they want to invade our Paridar, they have to at least at some point change to fresh water, because there won't be not so much sea around everywhere.
I think they need to adapt to sewage, from what I can hear.
Yeah, or that.
What is the liquid that these sort of small eggs are sort of swimming about in, all these small...
You don't need to make a medicine roll to... It's going to be some kind... It'll be something akin to like formaldehyde. It's a alchemical preservative to keep them in there.
Okay. Well, like I say, I think we continue our investigations on Dagger the Sea. I don't know. I don't know if these creatures are they even big enough to sort of have a look at, sort of autopsy wise. Are they formed enough?
I mean, you can, but you'll be very limited in what you gain from it, only because they're. He's not wrong. These seem to be in the embryonic stage. I mean, you could sort of see even from their, kind of holding the liquid and the glasses up to, or the and the eggs up to light. You can see elements of it that seem similar to those tendrils that you were provided by Dr. Green.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So maybe we'll leave them to form a bit more and grow a bit more. And
in the liquid that they're in, they are unlikely to do so.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
okay,
this would be
literally just preserving them.
It's to preserve the content of it, and I mean eggs, or the eggs themselves, depending on how if they are of a marine species, they're likely permeable membranes on the eggs. So whatever this alchemical shit is that it is floating in is going to permeate whatever's inside those eggs. I mean, they probably taste good, but
Oh, well, Sally had crossed Sally's mind.
Yeah, I was more thinking that you might be able to find some kind of I don't know whether these creatures are have some kind of weakness against electricity or something of that vein. So we might even be prepared to maybe have to deal with a giant cephalopod at some point and look at the sea.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know if they're formed enough to carry out such experiments and things on.
Let's see here. Do you know anybody who knows anything about re-stimulating necrotized flesh that doesn't involve necromancy?
Got any family?
So I mean, we could take a visit to Dr. Raycroft, just to see if he's well.
Raycroft.
You haven't seen him since the rescue.
Yeah.
Isn't Adam still with him? Little Adam?
No.
So I think you guys have Adam out with you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
He's at the office at the moment.
So he's there literally next to me playing with a car? No.
I think he's at the Barrowhead mission with
yeah, I've given
Betty.
Dr. Risewell to him and Betty keep a close eye on him. Not let him out of sight. I mean, we could go and ask him, but
yeah. But I think what we are doing is just I mean, basically, we are just prolonging our stay here, and we have to move to Deck on the Sea at some point. So
Yep.
there was someone who you wanted to meet, Adam. I don't remember who that was.
Well, it's just they mentioned Dr. Green being able to help give us some more information regarding the meeting with the insurance people, but I don't know if that's going to be any help now.
I mean, I could call in a favor, but I don't think that this is worth it right now.
I was going to say, I don't know if it's going to add anything really that it's going to progress any further. So I think, yeah, just maybe go and investigate Dag on the Sea.
Sally, how do you feel about a trip to the sea?
Let's go. Let's go. All the signs point there.
Okay. Then, two things. First, everyone's going to get a hero point. And then, why don't we take our mid-session break right now, and then we'll come back and see what your trip to Dag on the Sea is like. So for those listening at home, we'll be back momentarily.
And Igor has reassembled.
Hi, Igor. Yeah, Mark 4 now.
It's good to see him back.
Good old boy. No Pathfinder game this week?
No. I've got Bushido in 2 weeks' time, and then in the week following as well.
Oh,
My
so it
technique
wasn't
is
a
to run
regular
the
thing.
game twice at 2 locations.
Is it
And
the
then I
same
tried
group, though?
It's the same meetup, but the people vary. I've got people that wanted to play Bushido, so the 2 of them have joined for the first time. I haven't played with them for quite some months, but they wanted to play that game. And then I think I'll give the One Ring a go, and that'll be all change again because those 2 players won't want to play that. So very change games, change players. But I've got to that desperate point of volunteering to help with the meetup to maybe get it to once every 2 weeks, because then I'll get to run a game 3 times a month.
And there's no one else.
Through.
No one else run games there, really?
I just don't know the people. There are other games floating around, but there are these 2 meetups, and one of them's got 70 players, so it's a good place to get volunteers. It's a D&D group, but there seem to be 5 out of the 70 are happy to run something else. I was running Pathfinder, and I run Bushido, and then I'll try the One Ring.
That's a big group, though.
Yeah. And, they're oversubscribed as well, so.
And they're all in person.
Yep. It's a nice place. It's a nice bar.
It must be a fair size.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a big open plan bar with a big outside area as well. And they've served, snacks at the table and drinks at the table and the rest of it. So it's a bit pricey compared with the other place, which is very, very old school. They don't even take cards at the other place. It's
All right.
and it's all very cheap and cheerful snacks like chips and all the rest of it. But it's much, much cheaper. But you're in the basement. So it's very much 2 different flavors playing at the 2 places. But, it's kind of nice if they can get the second one going, and I'll try and help them run it. Then I can finally start working through my backlog of games.
I always thought it was a good place to run role-playing games, a basement. I don't know why.
Oh, yeah, it works. It works.
Basement or attic? That's
Yeah,
All
but I
right.
don't know. Basement for me.
Are we discussing where to hide bodies?
no where to play RPGs. That's
I thought basement for in-person gaming, RPGs, just for some reason, just seemed appropriate.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's good for tour so long as the basement has a round door.
All right. So, is there anything that you guys wish to do before you are setting out from Paridar off for Dag on the Sea? And I guess are you... you can't reach Dag on the Sea by train. You'll have to take a train to a nearby stop and then take a carriage from there into town. You could, I suppose, try and charter a boat as well and sail up there. But from what you understand, it's a pretty small place. It's not really accommodating. It's not really equipped to accommodate... well, no, that's not true. There's a spa that's there, too. So I guess it is. There probably is ships that would take you out there if you choose.
rent a fishing boat.
No, we are using maybe. So how long this train journey is? A day or so.
Yeah, it'll take about a day to get out there, to hire a wagon and then head out. It's really not that far. It's you know, a good solid day's travel.
It's not sorry. We would take the company vehicle then.
You could. You certainly could. It would. I'm not sure that the rural roads of Paridar are quite ready for a clockwork vehicle, but it's certainly, you could take that if you want to have a vehicle to be able to get around town. You could take more stuff then too, and you got Igor to you know, turn things up.
Yeah,
And he can run in front waving a red flag, right?
Yeah. It'll be just like the United States, where the only two clockwork cars in the state will get involved in a collision with each other. So, what do you think? Yeah, that is absolutely a way of getting around too. What are you thinking?
What do we want to be a little bit less conspicuous, or do we go in company colours? And
I would just go by train, but there's nothing. I mean, it's not probably not unwise to just arrive at different times and not be already be there as a group, maybe. But I don't know. I mean, maybe you decide. I'm just so.
yeah, I mean, I'm not one for being stealthy and secret, as we know.
No, but you look like you could use a spar. I mean,
What are you trying to say? Yeah, well, let's take the train then. Let's go how most people would travel, maybe. Fit in.
Yep. And
yeah, I think maybe Golak would join us then by his car or so.
Yeah,
That would be possible. Yeah.
okay. The last trip you had by train, I believe, resulted in you, at least the last one we've seen on camera, did result in a fairly dramatic deplaning or detraining of someone. This trip is much less eventful than before. Is there anything in particular that you wish to bring with you as well? Any extra gear or any, you know... You certainly would have time to conduct commerce in Paridar before you departed.
No.
I'll take my little bits for my gadgets that I normally create. My
It just would be fun if the conductor that we messed with on the train was now relegated to conduct the route to the outskirts of Paridar.
Yeah. He looks down at you and disgust, you know, clicks your tickets as being paid, and then carries on his way. So the trip to let's see here. We'll give we're going to call the feeder town Barrington. So you reach Barrington probably about a little after midday. I'm assuming you're leaving the following day from your meeting with Mr. Parlow. You reach Barrington, and you can see that there are a fair amount, not a fair amount, but there's enough people who are sort of trying to get carriages. One of them seems to be a wealthy couple who are making their way to attend the Scopia Holiday Lodge. The spa that is located in Dag on the Sea. And why don't we do this? Why don't you give us either diplomacy or a yeah, I think it's diplomacy roll. Someone give us that, and then you can always use a reaction to try and aid another if the roll is insufficient.
Yeah. Sally, do you want to roll?
No, I'll give that a go then. Here we go. I feel inspired by the railroad trip.
Okay. Yeah. You're able to hire a carriage, and the driver, his name is Melton. He'll be taking you out there. Melton apparently just runs, from folks coming into Barrington to go to any of the other smaller communities or around town. It'll take, he thinks, the rest of the day in order to get out there, unfortunately. Have you got a place to stay up there?
Oh, yes, we've heard of a good tavern. Do you have any recommendations yourself? That we have one already.
You've got no business at, it's not the spa you're going to?
I'm more interested in the seaside myself. You will have noticed my
Oh, is that what that's about?
Rather.
All right.
So
I can think of nicer places to go swimming. The beach isn't bad, but...
Darren, do you know the name of the thing we were given where we could stay?
Shoregate Arms.
Yeah.
They have rooms.
Cottage. That was the only thing I remember.
Yeah, Shoregate Arms is a place to stay.
Yeah, Shoregate Arms. So that we would say this.
Shoregate Arms. Oh, I can take you there.
Yeah.
All right.
Would you recommend it?
The Arms? Yeah, it's just all right. Depends what you... if you want to be down by the seaside, you might want something like the Bishop's... Bishop's Cottage is right in town. It's close to the sundial. But I can't see... Curious, you got no... You're just planning on vacationing but not going to the spa.
I'm sure we'll swing by.
Yeah. We maybe want to talk to the local priest, and I would say the name, but I have forgotten it. So as a player,
A local priest?
Yes, there wasn't.
And he's loading your stuff up as he's talking too. It's a bit of a long way to go for a bit of penance, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, we have some kind of chit chat to do. Sometimes it's, all the weird stuff with the church you wouldn't believe.
Well, I tell you, me missus always says, Melton, don't talk yourself out of a job. If you intend on going there, then that is your prerogative. And my coach, as they say, is your carriage.
Yeah.
That's, of course, not a saying, but for Melton, it apparently is.
Yeah.
He helps you up, Sally helps you up, Basil. He trusts that you can get yourself up, Dr. Ersprung. And he does express a little bit of concern as he sees Igor kind of, lean back into the back of the carriage. Oh, springs low. Let's hope Andy keeps up too. Come on, Andy. Let's go. These people got to get to the town. He, kind of whips above the old draft horse, and it begins trudging along.
Just to make sure, did we know the name of the priest, or didn't we know the name of the priest?
I don't think you did.
Okay. So I would then ask him what the priest is called. I mean, he should know, maybe.
I don't live there. I don't know. Sorry.
You're from Harrington here. Okay, so I'm sorry.
That's right. And now, if you forgive my rudeness, once we drop you off, I'll be riding right back. And he gestures at a lantern that's hanging from a thing.
How, is there a special reason that you are not? So is there something something going on with Deckard on the sea?
Well, far be it for me to speak ill of neighbors. Is there a reason you'd ask?
No, but it sounded like a little bit like you had a butt coming. So like.
Well, if you ever met my missus, you would know that one does not arrive. One does not skip out for an evening, shall we say. She expects me home at bed at whatever time it takes, so I find myself at home in bed with the missus, however long it takes. But now you say it though, them folks at daggone the sea, it's just I won't speak ill of them, but peculiar. No?
Mm-hmm.
No. As of late, they've had a great deal of fortune with that fishing of theirs.
Yes.
Really turned things around.
Yeah, we heard.
Was that what brought you out here? You representatives of some cannon thing or whatnot? That cannery of theirs can barely keep up from what I hear.
Mm-hmm.
Tongues will wag around Barrington about how unusual they are. Yes, they've had several change of priests out there, and from what I hear, they've of late taken a bit of a peculiar interpretation of the doctrine, I suppose. But you know what my missus says. She says it's money that make people go mad. So if these people with all that money coming in, for all that cannon, maybe they've just gone a bit mad. And they're dallying in fancy new things. I can't speak to that. I've never been wealthy myself.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So thank you.
You're most welcome. Sit yourself back. Make comfortable. We should be there within about 2 hours or so. The road's mostly clear and the weather looks to be holding up. Enjoy what you can. Oh, though, madam, please feel free. There's a parasol left by an old customer back there. You're welcome to make use of that if you find the direct sunlight displeasing to you.
I thank you, sir. Very thoughtful.
So me missus says. And do you guys have any other questions you want to ask of Melton?
No.
Don't think so.
Okay.
No.
What you notice as you're making your way, the several hours it takes to reach here, you don't pass any other traffic, with the exception of 2 fairly large and heavily laden wagons. You guys can give us a perception check if you'd like to see if you can spot what's underneath the things.
Fish, I suppose.
That one. Dr. Erstron, an outstanding roll. It's going around. Oof.
You what?
For your perception, that's not really that great.
No.
5. You want to hear a point that?
I think. Yes. Come on, I will do it.
There you go.
That's more like it.
So you can see that what is under each of the tarps. You catch a glance at what is secured underneath there. It's a bunch of crates that likely has canned goods in them. No doubt heading to Barrington to be shipped off to Paridar. Other than that, nothing else. You do notice as well, there's a curious, whenever they, maybe this is just the usual kind of like, so there's motorcycle drivers, right, when they pass each other on the highway, do the kind of little wave. Jeep drivers do a thing where they do the, if you pass each other, or at least Wrangler drivers, if you pass each other, you do a little, wave. These guys do the same kind of, nod as they're passing by one another, Melton and the drivers of the other things. But apart from those two, there's no other traffic, leading to you arriving in Dag on the Sea. Dag on the Sea, what you can see here is really kind of the central part of the town. The coastline extends out a little further north, and about a quarter mile off is where the spa itself is, the Scopia Holiday Lodge. I'll put that in chat. Should we do a poster for Scopia Holiday Lodge? What you also find is that there are a number of farms outlying the things, and you get kind of a you can see as you guys are riding in, there is you get what I think you'd probably classify as the stink eye from one of the farmers as you're riding in. Basil, you're the one who probably because of your great perception roll from before, I'll roll it forward, and as you're getting to like just the edge of town, you can see that there is someone who is a farmer who seems to be, you know, kind of surveying his field, and he has a shotgun draped across, or like a blunderbuss, I guess, draped across his arm. It's open, so it's not like he's, you know, he's got it shot. But from there's no like pheasants or anything like that hanging from his or, you know, vermin hanging from his saddle. So if he is out here hunting, you know, or scaring off stuff like, you know, prairie dogs or whatever, I guess it wouldn't be prairie dogs, it's not a prairie, but groundhogs. Nothing, you know, nothing like that. But the way he looks at you, Basil, would you give us another perception roll? I think. Let's see if we can gauge.
Yes. Absolutely.
It's probably something I could do as a secret roll, but yeah. Those hero points need to be spent somehow.
I honestly never do secret rolls when I GM. So 22.
Yeah. Okay. So the what you see is that you judge his. He has the demeanor of kind of like grumpy old farmer. He's probably in his like late 50s, early 60s, so not so like old and segueing into decrepitude, but he's not young by any means. The clothes he wears are likely things that he's owned for 20 years. And while he has that surly kind of demeanor that some, you know, long-term independent farmers kind of can have, there is a strange look of worry that you recognize in his eye. As he's watching you go in. He's probably a good, like I don't know, he's probably at like an eighth of a mile away, so it's far enough away that you're not like easily able to talk to have a conversation with him, and he seems to know, you know, there's a bit of a field, and there's a fence, and there's the road, so there's a ways between you two. But you check them, and then Melton otherwise takes you into town. As you're going through town, everyone seems very pleasant. You know, the people you pass on the road, everyone kind of, you know, not doffs their hat, but kind of like, you know, tips towards you or nods or says good evening or good afternoon, depending on, it's probably, it's summertime, so it's not going to be dark yet, but you can see that at this time of day, there's also a ton of ships, fishing ships that are all, or fishing boats, I guess, that are coming back into the harbor. And there doesn't seem to be any pleasure vessels among these. So whatever the holiday spas recreations seem to be, or ways of rejuvenating yourself, it doesn't seem that like aquatic activities or, you know, maritime activities are part of that. As you wind through town, one thing that's curious is you can see there is something he mentioned. Melton mentioned a sundial, and you do see the right near the center of the right center of town, right near the harbor. That's where you can see the Bishop's Cottage Tavern, facing that kind of open area around in here. And then right in the center here, what is not in this photo, is a spire, identical to those that you find across Paridar. You ride down into the center of town, and then he begins leading you up. And let me double check the map here. Where is...
Watch out for the white blossoms.
You're watching hard for white blossoms?
No, I say to the other ones. Watch out for the white blossoms. So if there's a spire here, so there might be white blossoms too.
Yeah. What you see is, well, I guess Melton, he turns his, what's that you say about white blossoms? We get them here too. Yeah, they get them here too.
Oh yeah, I see. That's interesting. We always think we guys from Paridar always think we are special because of the white blossoms. You see?
Well, no, they grow here as well, and we've got I can tell you, we don't get them in Barrington, but sure enough, you bring a plant over here, something growing, gonna get them blossoms in it sooner or later.
I see. Yeah.
Once you ride past the harbor, you take a left, and he leads you up an old road a little further up the hill, and at the crest of it is where you will find the Shoregate Arms. There you are. My masters and mistresses. Shoregate Arms. Shoregate Arms is a like white daubed or like white plastered on the outside 2-story inn. It looks like it has a small common room on the inside where you can have meals or you can have drinks or whatever, and then there's also accommodations within. He helps you with all of your supplies. Who is going to go in to see about a room?
Yes, I'll head on in.
Okay. So as you head in, there is a lovely, or friendly at least, human lady who looks to be, she's maybe like 5'1" if she's, lucky. But she weighs probably close to like 250. Very plump woman who says, "Oh, hello there."
Oh, why, hello. I've just arrived in town and would dearly love a couple of rooms to rest in.
Ah, I see.
I have heard your establishment quite recommended, all the way back in Paridar.
You're all the way out from Paridar, then? Wonderful.
Indeed.
Please, come on over. We'll see what we have. How many on your party? Is it 2 or?
It's 3, but there are 2 gentlemen, and I would, of course, prefer to have another room myself.
I swear there are times I wish that myself.
A snore, does he?
He's cool. He could wake up the Leviathan itself. Now, let's see. So I can have 3, but it will be in. I trust it will not be a problem if we have you in different spots throughout the premises.
Oh, that should be fine.
Good.
A last-minute booking like this, always tricky.
It's that time of year for our town. Then it'll be 1 on the ground floor and 2 on the second floor. I guess if it's European, it'll be the first floor. So, what, now, if I could just have you fill this information in, please. How long will your stay be?
A few days. We're just going to see rather how it appears appeals to us. Shall we say 4 days?
Impulse travelers.
Would that be possible?
Then. 3 days? And he flips through the book.
Personally, I think it's delightful to be away from the smoke, but my friends do rather like it back in the city.
Trust you will find there truly is nothing like the sea air out here to truly rejuvenate and clear one's mind. It will require some juggling on my part, but I can accommodate you in those rooms for 3 days.
Thank you, madam. Delighted. And it's good to have this salt tang of the sea.
Oh, indeed.
Yeah?
Madam, I don't mean to... You wouldn't be Deep Sally by any chance, would you?
Goodness gracious. You've heard of me here?
Oh, no, my sister, she saw you in Paridar several years ago. Your performance, truly...
Nothing bad, I hope. Nothing bad, I hope.
Nothing but wonderful things she said about it. Truly, to hear of your performance made me deeply jealous, if I must confess. The fact that I had an opportunity to make your acquaintance in person will truly, if I might be cruel, it might make her jealous, truly.
Well, we wouldn't want that, but we could maybe have a natter later. Oh, she got to talk to you. She got to see me back then.
Wonderful.
But,
yes, well, I am deeply honored to be able to have you as a guest in our humble establishment then. Ingolf, did you want Basil to intrude on this?
Yeah, so Basil would like to ask a question.
So maybe he wasn't in this scene because she went in on her own, so maybe he's walked in at this point and sees, Sally doing her usual thing with someone who recognizes her. Yeah. You've seen this play out hundreds of times before over the past few years.
Yeah. Excuse me, madam. So I couldn't help but overhear your words. We are traveling here, and we are wanting to experience the city, and we heard about a sunken castle that should be remarkable and very interesting. Can you
sunken
say
castle?
Yes.
Oh.
The old cup, I would say, was its name or something like that.
Yes. Well, if you want to see a bunch of tumble-down bricks, I suppose you could go there. You certainly can provide directions there, but truly, there's not much to see there. And is
it on land or is it underwater? So
no, it's underwater.
No, it's underwater.
Submerged, yes. It's a dull story that the old-timers in town would like to regale you with. Truly, there's very little to see right now, and it can be a bit perilous to explore. The ruins have been subject to time and tide, both for hundreds of years now. If it's a lookout that you're interested in, though, I can make several recommendations for where along the coast that would be much more interesting and than a pile of a tumbled down old castle.
Oh, I see. Yeah, we were just curious. So someone mentioned it on our way here.
Did they?
Yeah, they did.
And who mentioned that to you?
Yeah, I was talking to someone who mentioned that castle, and also mentioned that you have some priest who seems to be famous for his words and speeches,
she looks genuinely confused. What do you mean, sir?
Yeah, so there was he had some kind of novel approach to the Church of the Heavenly Host, I was told.
You need not make a roll. She's not crazy about your line of questioning. So she's, I'm sure I don't know anything about that, sir. Miss Sally, it is a pleasure to have you in our establishment. I will ensure that the rooms are ready for you, and I will get the keys. Have you luggage?
Just a few valises.
Then we will. So I'll ensure that we have our Eric. He can take care of that for you.
As Igor comes in, weighed under with
Melton is bringing stuff in.
Of cases.
Cool. It seems you have a bagman of your own, then. You built one. That's clever. And then Dr. Erstrand comes in and you show, hello, sir.
Afternoon.
She looks and kind of does the count. Are these your 4 companions?
They are indeed.
Oh, I'm afraid I don't have 4 rooms, though.
Well, Igor does rather sort of park himself at the end of my dear doctor's bed, so he doesn't really need a bed himself.
She's looking at Igor and she's trying to puzzle. Adam, what you might realize, or Dr. Strong, what you might realize, she might not, like, automatons are a part of the society because, like, they've incorporated themselves into that too. Igor is a very unique creation. Like, she may not understand that it's not an automaton or like a very primitive version of that.
It's merely a machine, my good lady.
Oh, it's not one of them. It's not one of them mechanical men from the war.
No. It's a machine.
We treat him as one of the family, of course, but still, he is, as the doctor says.
Wow,
it's very important to me, but yeah, it's not a being.
That's quite... Did you purchase that?
I constructed it.
Did you really?
Indeed.
Well, you're most clever then. This, well, if that's, perhaps he might go on the ground floor then? I'd hate to stress the old stairs. I'm certain they could support any of your weights, but, and she's looking Igor up and down, you know, at each footstep kind of creak underneath the wood of the floor.
I'm happy if my companions are happy with that.
Wonderful. I assure you, sir, there will be plenty of room for you in there, and the first floor room is as comfortable as any of the higher ones. While you will not have a view of the sea, you will have the wonderful smell of lilacs in the morning.
Sounds delightful.
Well, we will. I hope that you have a wonderful and enjoyable stay. There's a kind of like a last look over at Basil. Allow me to get the key sorted, and we'll have you off to your room, and you can begin enjoying your stay. So she turns and kind of hustles into the back. There's a couple of people in the common room where you're checking in. There's it's a little separate from the common room itself, but you can hear people moving around and talking in there. But you guys do seem to have a moment of privacy. Melton takes payment from Adam, and you can see out the window to the front, Melton's thing is turning around and he's beginning to make his way. You can hear him call out, "Come on, Andy, we gotta get back to the missus." And off he goes.
So I think there are certain places of interest, maybe, like the sunken castle, like the church, and this sundial is also, it seems to be, I don't know why they have it here.
It seems to be a central part of the town somewhat. I don't know why.
So am I right that sundials are in a way anachronistic? So they have clockworks, they would be able to have better clocks, maybe.
Well, if you ask about what they mean about the sundial, all they're referring to is the spire itself.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're wondering what they mean by sundial, what you can see is that this is not like any of the spires in Paridar itself, but this spire has stones placed around it, so that as the sun moves across the sky, it'll cast a clear light across the stones to tell you what time it is.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So they basically redecorated the spire into the sundial. Okay.
Yeah, if it's like as of yet, the spires in Paridar, it's magic and science and whatnot is unable to identify how old they are. So the assumption is that they're older than any other structure in Paridar. That would make if this spire is the same, it would track that it would be something that they could build around, and that's a pretty ingenious use of the spire, to be honest.
And we should maybe check out the bishop's cottage as well, because if I remember, that is basically the last place we know that the investigator of the Church of the Heavenly Host went.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep. Yeah. What sort of, is it late afternoon now? Sort of early evening?
Yeah, definitely late afternoon. Like, it's closer to 6 o'clock. So it's
maybe
typical travelers would probably like settle in and then retire for supper in the common room, or perhaps elsewhere in town.
Yeah, I'll be interested. Go on.
I'm just wondering, does Sally need to take a bath before we can move around, or
because of the sun?
No, because of the water. I mean, because of the train ride and the carriage ride, we maybe were.
Oh,
yeah.
I will have a sleep in my bathtub later.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to look into the church, or I don't know if we want to wait for the morning and try and catch a service or something, or if we investigate this evening.
Other things that you passed on the way into town included Harbor House, where the harbor master likely is located. There's the cannery that you saw. There is Coach House, which seems to be where all the local kind of like a more expansive version of a livery. There's a community hall. There is a gallery and tea room, sort of a combination of local, art studio and a tea room. There is a pub called the Harbor Dog. And then there's the Shoregate Arms itself. The community hall seems to be what... Oh, sorry, there's also the town hall. Town hall is separate from the community hall. You would have passed several of those important kind of landmarks near the center of town.
Yeah, but let's go straight to the church, maybe. I mean, always good to know the priest first.
So you guys get your keys back. I think you've said that as you realize she has returned, and hands out the keys to each of you. And then you're able to, check into each of your rooms, get yourself settled in. They're pleasant enough rooms, not the place you'd want to linger necessarily because of the size, but they're perfectly pleasant. They're clean. The beds look to be comfortable and well made, and the sheets are clean. Where are you meeting up for dinner? Or are you going to head off to the church at this point? It's still light for a couple of hours, but 6 o'clock is probably dinner time for priests as well as the parishioners.
Maybe we should get something to eat. I'm sure there'd be some good seafood here.
Most definitely.
And we might be able to catch... You never know the rumors we might hear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we could try this other hotel and eat there even. And we don't want to stay, of course, but
Yeah, we could visit
to
it.
go to eat at the bishop's cottage.
Yeah, we could try it just to see what it's about.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, let's do that.
So it's a short stroll to go from the Shoregate Arms down to the Bishop's Cottage Tavern. And as you're walking along, you can see that people are everyone is greeting you and kind of making note of you, to the point where it's a little unnerving that everyone seems to know that you're outsiders, because they're not doing it to one another. You make your way down. Well, that doesn't give you the walk itself is only about maybe 10 minutes, so it doesn't take you so long as to cause concern. As you walk into the Bishop's Cottage, you can understand where sort of it gets the name, because it's one of those pubs that sort of started with one structure and then had stuff added onto it over the intervening years. So it probably did start as an actual residence, but it's been expanded out to become a pub afterwards. The as you make your way in, the crowd seems to be all, it's got a pretty busy crowd, common room where there are quite a bit of people who seem to be dressed like fishermen, right? Like, it seems like it's the place that you come in, and when you do, there is a bit of it's a bit of a weird thing, is not as if they're all like hive-minded or whatnot, but as soon as you all walk in, there's a bit of a lull in conversation, and each of them, the ones closest to you are like, evening, and as you make your way through to the kind of available table, the conversation picks up once again, but every table you pass is like, evening, and then they go back to their conversation. And you guys all sit down. Everyone has gone back to their own conversation, but it is, Basil, in your mind, in that conspicuous way where people are trying their best not to let you know they're listening in or watching you. No one seems to be looking at you. No one seems to be watching you, but boy, you really get the feeling that you're being watched and listened to.
Yeah.
So you all sit down, and a lady walks over and says, evening. New to town then, are you?
Yes.
Well, welcome. We always appreciate visitors here. What would you care for?
Yeah, for supper, I suppose. So.
Supper, yes?
Yes. So my friend here, and I look at Sally, was looking for some good fish to get, and we were told here was the place to get it.
Certainly. We've got a lovely fresh catch that we can prep up for you. It's not going to be anything fancy, mind, but...
No need to prep. You can
fresh
just put
fish.
it on the plate.
Right? Oh, forgive me, madam. You mean you're looking for raw fish?
It's a preference from where I come from. I'm sure my friends would love the extra skills of your chef, but I like it rather natural, shall we say.
All right. Now, it's kind of you to think that we've got a chef in back as well. But is there anything I can do apart from cutting up a raw fish for you? You want anything done to it? You want some vegetables to go with that?
Do you have any seaweed?
Seaweed? No, madam. I'm afraid we ain't got no seaweed, neither.
No. Never mind.
I mean,
the fish alone, I'm sure, will be delightful, and my friends, I'm sure, will rejoice in your chef's skills.
All right. As for a beverage, are you looking for something quite exotic like that as well, or can I offer you a pint?
Oh, a pint will do nicely.
Wonderful.
When, as they say, when in Rome.
What's this Rome of which you speak?
Oh, it's a suburb of Paridar.
So then, what she'll happily go and do that for you, and she looks at the two of you quickly.
Yeah, I would like smoked fish with potatoes, maybe, or something like that.
Oh, great. What we got? Smoked fish? Yeah, I could do that. Your visitors? For you, sir?
The same. Anything that's not too much trouble.
I'm going to recommend to you something that's fresh in. We've got some lovely fish chowder.
I'm happy to give it a go.
There we are. We'll get those points right away, and we'll have your food for you shortly. So she gets you the pints, delivers them back to you, and then shortly thereafter, you guys get what looks like a bowl of cut up raw fish. You get a smoked and salted fish or cod, probably, with some roasted potatoes and a steaming bowl of chowder. Anything you guys wish to discuss in the interim? Now, the beer is perfectly serviceable. You know, nothing spectacular, but I mean, it's not offensive either.
Can we see anyone that's not what we would class as a local in here?
In here, no.
No one at all.
Doesn't appear to be.
Okay.
This place definitely does have accommodations in it. Like you could see people that were in there, so they're either just not here or it doesn't have anyone staying here.
Yep.
So when the waitress comes back, I'll say that I must admit that, you know, us being city folk out and everything, but it does seem like we're the first visitors you've had in a long time.
Oh,
Everybody
no.
paying much attention to us.
It's not that. It's just not to. I wouldn't want to slight. Some visitors want something a bit more impressive than what we have on offer here. This is really more of a local establishment for food, mind.
Yeah, that's...
So you don't have out-of-towners here normally?
Oh, we do indeed. They just go elsewhere for their food.
Okay. Well, as I said, I always feel that when you're visiting a place, you should eat where the locals do. They'll know the best.
Good. Well said, madam. Well said. I'll leave you to it then. If you need anything, just give me a call. I'm Darlene. And she turns and heads back to her work once again. So, the food is fine. You know, like the fish, it's as advertised, Sally. This thing seems to have likely come out of the water today. Basil, yours
Finally.
is perfectly, again, like, it's not anything to write home about. The potatoes are not really well done, but the salted fish is fine. The chowder is actually pretty good. That's seems to be something they've got a good handle on. Now, because Dr. Earthsprung ate the chowder as well, I'll ask you to make a fortitude save. Again, no, I'm kidding. So as you guys are enjoying the meal, once again, the hub in here, it has on its, you know, to all appearances, it seems to be just, it's the pub that, you know, the locals come back to after a day of fishing.
Yeah.
You know,
So
it's...
yeah. And I would maybe say a little bit louder, so, and not conspicuously.
Yeah.
But like we are talking and my mouth is full and I talk a little bit louder. So, I wonder why this castle was this. I heard we heard from the girl in the from the woman in the inn about the sunken castle, and I wonder what the story about that is.
Okay, why don't you give us I think it's deception, isn't it?
Yes, maybe.
Yeah, roll please. Yeah, deception.
So, I mean, if they want to listen, so maybe we can find something out. Yeah, come on. I would just give it another try.
Yeah, you're gonna point that. Nice.
Maybe, I mean, this is our investigation, and this is me investigating.
Okay.
Sure, yeah.
There you go. Okay.
It's more like it.
So what you can see is there's enough people near you who sort of stop what they're doing and give their full attention to trying to eavesdrop in on what you're saying, but no one is offering help here whatsoever.
Yeah, maybe we could find someone to tell us something here. I look around just a little bit. To see whether someone looks at me.
Nope. Again, like they're it's more obvious that some people closer to you are listening in right now, but no one has turned to look at you or to offer any information.
Okay.
They're not hostile either. They're not glaring at you or anything like that. But nobody in here is. No one in here is like, oh, funny you mentioned the castle or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. How is the fish, Sally?
Fortunately fresh. It's so difficult to get back in Paridar. It's always a day or two old. It's much better. The trip is not entirely wasted. Maybe our predecessor stayed for the good food.
It's definitely not. It's the food here is. You've certainly had worse, and it's even the smoked and salted fish is still like much more fresh than anything you would get in Paridar. So, what? And I guess the other thing I would say is that the mood in here seems high. Everyone seems pretty happy. You're not. This isn't like, there's the dour, old guy in the corner of the pub who kind of, glares at people, or, there's not the sour drunk sitting at the bar who is, nursing their drink. Everyone in here seems to be pretty happy.
Okay. No sinister banjos going.
No. At least not in here.
Remember, town seems to be doing well, especially on the fishing front.
Yeah. So, I mean, if no one else, then I would say just let's finish our meal and go back to business. We can always come back later.
Yeah, let's take a stroll.
Okay. So you finish up your meal, and then as you leave, once again, every table, evening, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then you leave and step outside, and you see that there is, by this point, it's not dusk yet, but it's definitely on its way towards there. And Sally, just the fog that comes in the evenings in Paridar, you can feel like, or you can smell it maybe on the air, like it's going to come in here as well. This town will likely be shrouded in fog this evening.
Interesting. So if we wait a little around the door area, is someone coming after us?
What do you mean by that? Like there's going to be people coming and going from here.
Yes. But so we just, I imagine we go up, I don't know, a couple of yards away from the door and just chat there and wonder if people come out of the door and just keep there like they want to follow us.
Okay. What's your perception bonus?
I think it's something like...
Oh, yeah, I can see it right here. Plus 12 or something? Yeah, plus 12. Okay. As far as you can tell, there's people coming and going, and like people are stepping outside to get some fresh air and talk to one another, smoke a pipe in the summertime evening air. But no one that seems to be like, at least you can't tell anyone is coming to try and shadow you guys, if that's what you're asking.
Yes, that is exactly what I was.
Although, as you're saying that too, like you're seeing people like, there's one or two younger like young guys who are fishermen who are walking in too, and as they pass you three, once again they say evening, and then make their way into the pub.
Yep. So I think we found the church, and we do not need to look for it. I mean, we know where it is.
Yeah.
And we have seen it. Yeah.
Yep. Any one of those places, I'll put in chat. I'm going to have the, actually going to do this weekend. This is a non sequitur, but this weekend is the first weekend where I do not have to do fucking work for about 3 months. So I get to actually do some prep for this campaign tonight. So I'll get the map finished up so you can place where all these things are.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be like Scotland Yard. Moving around. So these are just the list of locations. Also, it shows off how I don't know how to spell cottage. Or town, apparently. Go. I think that's all of them. Did I miss any? That's your cannery.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all the ones you've uncovered thus far.
Yeah.
The secret Fang Dragon lair is located outside of town. You haven't been there yet.
Yep.
I mean, there's no dragon lair outside. Don't completely.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that at all. So, any one of those places are places you could certainly check out. Although, I mean, like at this point, it's a weekday. It's 7 o'clock or 7:30 by the time you guys finish up inside. So some of those things will be closed for the day. Although the cannery does run 24/7. It has evening shifts and morning shifts, or day shifts. What do you guys intend on doing next? Basil, you're satisfied you're not being followed by anybody?
No. I think we go to the church, maybe, just have a look at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
The church itself is likely as old as any of the older buildings in the church. It has the markings of kind of like if you think of what the equivalent of the medieval period would be in Paridar, with the more the more primitive designs or things that have that predate the kind of like later Gothic designs that would feature for the Church of the Heavenly Host churches. This is something very early in that kind of that era. So I guess one way to think of it would be like the feudal era, maybe, of Paradar's history rather than medieval. Which is not unusual for some of these smaller places. They've never really needed to grow beyond that. It's otherwise unremarkable, although there is in some of the stained glass in the windows. You remember the descriptions that you heard of the keep falling into the sea? That seems to be depicted on the stained glass from this. There are no lights in the main chapel itself, but you can see that in the priest quarters. If this is like a lot of those churches of this era, the priest quarters might be at the back. Actually, probably not, because they would have grown beyond that to the point where the bishop's cottage would have been built, and then after that, they would have moved into their own residence. So, as far as you can tell, there's nobody in here right now. If it's like other small-town churches, though, it may not be locked. So you may be able to get in there, if you're so inclined.
Let's give it a try. Let's try the door.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's try. This is curious. It is locked. It's definitely not something that was built with. There would be the feudal era kind of protection on the door, but that would be something that would never ever actually be locked because it would require some extra mechanism or something like that. This appears to have had a lock specifically put on it. It is certainly something that Basil, you would have. I think if you have access to your who actually, I think there's a couple of you that have thievery.
Yeah. I even have thieves tools, I suppose.
Yep.
So,
if you want to give it a try, Basil, you certainly could.
Yeah, I don't think we should break into the church on our first day. I mean, that's always
Save that for tomorrow.
Not before the sun goes down as well, because there still are people who would be. I think you guys are. Certainly like sneaky enough, you could probably find a way to do it without anyone looking, but you're not wrong to think that it might draw attention, and the church is fairly close to the town center as well.
Can I have a look closer through the window? Can I try and see if I can see anything inside?
As far as you can tell, it's what you would have expected from something that's this size of a church. There's pews set up in here for people attending services. There is a pulpit in there, but and you got dark vision now because you replaced your eyes. Yeah, so what you can see, actually, give us a religion check, please. Let's see if there's anything. I think that would be the thing that would give context to it. Look at that! Holy smokes! So what did you roll in 20? 19?
19, yeah.
Fuck yeah. All right, so what you can tell, there are clearly places, these kind of churches, it's generational stuff. They'll put up some community will put together a banner or put together a plaque. It'll go on the wall and it'll stay there for decades. And over the intervening years, there'll be discolorations to the wall because of exposure to light or whatever. So when they are absent, it's really noticeable. And what you can see is that it seems as if almost every one of the kind of like accumulation of different recognitions for, different like saint days or things like that would accumulate on the walls, all of them have been removed. Almost as if it's like, 4 bare walls and preacher is what you would get in here, as opposed to more of the ostentatious presentations you'd get from the Church of the Heavenly Host itself.
I mean, I'll point that out to my colleagues. Is there any sort of signs of like the church outside, like a big sign? Is it changed from the Heavenly Host? Is it like under new sort of ownership and a different religion or anything? Or
no,
no sort of.
Not that you can see, at least not now. That's obvious, and there's no there's no marrings of any kind of of any kind of
So do we know of any equivalent to sort of the wee freeze or something that are all very
yeah, I'm trying to think here. So there's no as in Paridar, there are no schisms. There's one church. So there isn't. The Reformation has not come to Paridar. But what I was thinking of is that there's not any. It's curious. There's not any discolorations on, or no one's disfigured any of the icons or things like that on the outside of the church. But what's weird is the symbol that is higher on the the kind of is on the top of the church. It's a stone. I don't think we've talked about the actual symbol of the Heavenly Host yet, but it really is just, I'm picturing kind of a starburst type thing. If you're a BattleTech fan and you are aware of what the House Davian symbol is like, it's going to be very much like that. Okay. And that's my weekly excuse to talk about BattleTech. What you can see, Adam, is it looks as if there is something akin to barnacles growing on it. And like, it may just be a coincidence here, but like the way that it is grown, it's almost as if it is ruining the shape of the starburst itself. Also, they don't, I mean, maybe there are things that grow above a surface as well, but this is very strange that it's nowhere else on the structure, but it's just the holy symbol. And when you think of that and you go to any other markings of the starburst that are on here have similar growths on them.
Again, I'll point it out to everyone.
Sally, you are familiar enough with why the hell is that growing in air? There's nothing special about these barnacles. If you look at them, you know, they don't look anything like those eggs that you had in the jar from before. But it's definitely shit that normally only grows underwater, growing on the surface of this place.
Most extraordinary. This is not natural.
I feel this church hides some secrets, maybe.
Indeed, and unless this fog is particularly dense, I can't see how these barnacles survive.
So is there any, I don't know, so the Church of the Heavenly Host is, I mean, the name heaven is already in the name of the church. So, and we have the star-like symbols, but there's nothing normally with C or C, like symbols belonging to more to the sea in the Church of the Heavenly Host, symbolic things.
There be
like a fish or something.
Sorry, I'm not quite clear what you're asking. What?
So I'm just wondering whether there would be, so I don't know, in the Christian church there's always the symbol of the fish. You could, even if you would somehow try to change the meaning of certain things, and you would more want to have a sea cult, you could just use the fish symbol more often than it would be normal.
So what you can see, I mean, there are in the Church of the Heavenly Host, there are, you know, saints and whatnot, as there is in the Christian church, to recognize, you know, exemplary or important members of the church that exist in the temporal world, as opposed to the, you know, the or the corporeal world, as opposed to the ethereal and the eternal. The symbols that you see of the collapse into the, you know, the castle or the keep being claimed by the sea, there appears to be crusaders who are on one side, where, you know, wielding and bearing the stylized, of course, but, you know, Bayeux tapestry style, as if they are casting them the castle or the keep into the sea. There are, you know, blessed navigators or sailors. You know, there would be patron saints of the sea. I think that the saints don't play as much of a core role in the Church of the Heavenly Host as it does in the Catholic Church, where you wouldn't be petitioning a saint as opposed to whatever, but as opposed to the Heavenly Host itself. But there would definitely be saints that would relate to the sea. You don't necessarily see them represented here. Although, there's nothing here that directly represents that.
Okay.
Again, we're starting to see hints of this sunken castle. It was sunk with a reason, evidently, and probably connected with this church and these barnacles. As I say, this is not normal.
Nope.
Maybe we should take an evening stroll a little bit later.
Yeah, we could do that. But maybe we should, on our way home, we should just look at the sundial again. because I think we're going just around it.
Okay. It's a very short walk to get to there as well. Again, you have people, good evening, good evening, good evening.
Good evening. Yeah.
And you get to the sundial itself, and to your eyes, it's identical to every one of the spires in Paridar.
So it does not have a crack or something like we witnessed in.
No, in the Poverty Pond. Poverty Pond is the only one that seems to have been a damaged version of that, and that seems to have been lost on people until you guys noticed it. So you're standing before this thing, and the markings on the sundial itself, or the stones that are put around the spire itself, you would guess that they probably date to the timing of at least the bishop's cottage, the older parts of the structure, and maybe even as far back as the church. The harbor itself is a very, very old structure too, stone built up. It may date back to that era as well. The feudal era.
Yeah. So, but it does not seem like no, I don't know even how to describe that. So we don't know nothing about magic, the three of us. So
what you can see is there seems to be a pretty regular stream of carts as you're sitting and watching this thing that are going down into the harbor, loading up carts and wagons with fish and trucking them up deeper into town, probably off in the direction of the cannery. Like they were not joking. The yields from here are astounding. Maybe it's just a good, lucky couple of catches, but the fish seem to be in abundance here.
Yeah. Do we know how many people left the town alive? I question myself.
How many left the town alive? What do you mean?
Yeah, so like if they for some reason maybe sacrifice foreigners to the gods of the sea to get more fish.
Oh, I mean it's not. I mean, these things kind of go in fads, but you certainly know that like one of the reasons you heard about the Scopia Holiday Lodge is because it's a relatively popular destination. So rich mucky mucks come.
Yeah, people would notice if someone was missing on a larger scale. Yeah. So
there's not like a regular things. However, people who show up with no, clear purpose or whatnot. That may be a different matter.
Yeah, I see.
Everyone in town seems lovely. On the surface, everyone is polite. Everyone is very mindful of the fact that you are here, it seems, with the exception of that farmer.
Yeah, but I think we can't get to him, can we? I mean, he's outside and it's probably a long walk.
It would definitely be at least a half-hour walk, and the fog may roll in at that point.
Yeah, I think...
I was just going to say, he did describe his look as worried.
Basil saw it, but I don't know if he mentioned it to anyone.
No,
oh, you didn't?
Yeah, but I would mention, yes, I definitely have mentioned that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we could talk to him, and he would be a source more like of more reliable information, maybe. But well, let's see. If we are here, we have been a little bit suspicious already, so I think evil will show itself.
It's a Stepford fisherman. It's a Stepford fisherman.
Yeah, Stepford fisherman. Yeah.
So, is there anything else you wish to do before retiring for the evening to the Shoregate Arms?
Do we want to investigate the church under darkness, or are we going to leave our investigations till tomorrow?
I would really like to talk to the priest before we enter the church, or do we want to enter the church and then... I mean, imagine that he is really a cult leader and he has all of the village behind him, and we were the ones caught breaking into the church.
Well, I've never been in a... I mean, I know I come from the lower class parts of Paridar, but I've never found people as friendly as this. I would say unnaturally so.
Yeah.
Which...
But if someone can bring all the people here to be friendly to you, could that person not make all people hostile to us as well?
Oh yeah, undoubtedly. So
I think I might, when you two retire, I might have a little look outside and from the shadows and see what happens in this mist. I find it rather refreshingly damp, so that's quite nice.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to what these friendly villagers do.
Is it possible to go onto the roof of our inn, to look at the city, but from above?
I mean, it's not something they would allow necessarily, and there's not like a ladder that leads up there or anything like that. But I mean, you're a quite capable climber, so you might be able to scramble out your window.
Yeah, and so I'm seeing in this picture here that some of the villages, some of the buildings are just have 3 stories maybe, and then you could just be higher and look into the town center.
Well, and the town, as it goes away from the seaside too, like it does go up as well. So where the Shoregate Arms is actually at the highest point. So likely, as the fog comes in, it's going to move its way uphill. But you would have one of the best vantages in town to look down at everything.
Oh yeah. So then I would just do that and watch the evening unfold.
Okay.
And the fog comes in.
So that's going to be a plan for your evening, Dr. Ursprung. You're going to have an evening in?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there'd be a suitable place just to sit outside the Shoregate Arms.
There'd be a bench outside the place.
Yeah, I'll probably just sit outside, just so if there was any problems with Basil, I'd be able to hear. And maybe again, if Sally was in any sort of distress, I'd be more likely to hear rather than going indoors.
And Sally, you're waiting to slip out and have a look around?
Yes, I will look to get a vantage point to see if people decide to go and visit us during the night.
Okay. Perfect. Well, that, guys, seems like a perfect place to leave our session then. So, let me move back to our main screen here. I don't know what's going on with the cameras. The cameras have been really finicky today because there's been a big lag all day from you guys. So you guys are kind of moving quickly to get caught up and then freezing. I don't know if it's on my end or what, but it has been challenging today. But for those listening at home, thank you so much for joining us for part 2 of the A Quiet Village by the Sea mystery in our Spires Paridar campaign. As is always the case, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns regarding the session, the campaign, or the game we're playing, please don't hesitate to leave a comment in the comment section down below, and I'll endeavor to reply in a timely fashion. There is also a link down below to the Dungeon Musings Discord server, where we have a channel dedicated to the Spires of Paridar campaign, as well as channels dedicated to most other games we run on the channel. In addition to the channels for that, there's a ton of other great, finding a group or GM discussion or whatever, like tons of great people over there, very friendly, very knowledgeable. You're more than welcome to join us. There's also a link down below to the our friends at Noble Knight Games. Noble Knight Games is the preeminent unionized retailer of hard-to-find and out-of-print RPGs in North America. Not only do they have a terrific selection of new role-playing games, board games, and card games, they have an unmatched selection of hard-to-find and out-of-print RPGs. If you make a purchase of $10 or more through their website, be sure to enter the code SPRINGMUSER, all caps, all one word, and you will save yourself 10% on your purchase. There's also a They have a feature called a want list, and if something is listed in stock that is not in stock at the time, you can often put it on a want list, and they will send you an email when it comes in. If you're listening to this after July 1st, 2023, come back to one of the more recent videos and find what the updated discount code is, because it changes about every 4 months. There's also a link down below to something called Heroes Save Villages. That's a charity fundraising campaign that we run on the channel. It benefits the SOS Children's Villages International Charity, a really amazing organization active in over 130 countries, benefiting over 80,000 orphaned and abandoned children, including ongoing relief efforts in Ukraine and the surrounding countries. There is a all donations that go through that link go directly to SOS Children's Villages International. None of it goes to the channel or any other middleman. And if you donated $10 or more since June 1st, 2023, then you'll be able to vote in the last 3 sessions of our charity campaign that we've been running throughout the year. The donors from the first half of the year have shaped the first 3 sessions of that campaign, and they have seen our characters, our heroes, play, let's see, characters from the, the golden age of piracy, from the first century of the Roman Empire, and from the early stages of the Boxer Rebellion in China. It's been a lot of fun to see how the donors have shaped the time period, the location, the types of characters we're playing, and the game itself, and I look forward to seeing what our donors come up with for the next stage. I was going to post the updated voting yesterday for this, but I decided to run to the mountains instead. Tonight, I'm going to do that when I update the schedule for the channel for the coming week. So if you have donated $10 or more since June 1st, head on over to the Charity Initiatives channel of the Dungeon Musing Discord server, and you'll cast your vote for the first part of our next charity session. The last thing I will say is an enormous thank you to our stalwart illuminators for joining us again today. James, Ingolf, and Darren, thank you so much for joining us today. And Sean, I hope that the moving is going well on your end. Welcome to Dag on the Sea. I'm sure you will enjoy your visit. We'll be back at Dag on the Sea in 2 weeks' time, but until then, we hope that we gave you a few hours of time to take your mind off the troubles of our world and think about the troubles of our there's no troubles. It's just a lovely seaside town. I mean, hope you had time to enjoy the welcoming visit of this strange, vacation spot on the sea.
I'm just really glad that we've got a mystery that's not sinister or anything.
Exactly. This is a simple misunderstanding that needs to be cleared up here of brain-destroying and sterilizing parasites. I mean, I'm sure there's no concern with that whatsoever. But we'll be back in 2 weeks' time, and until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and happy gaming.